I've gotten all these nine, no, not nine, sorry, 4, 8, 12 guys pause at the same point in time in their delivery. And that is as soon as the front foot has hit the ground, which we call this position front foot strike. And right when the foot hits the ground, right when the foot hits the ground, right when the foot hits the ground, and so on. So that's where all of these different guys are at this current time, is front foot strike position. We can kind of see that there are some universal things that every pitcher, no matter the size, what handed, arm slot, what it may be, that we want to try to get to some checkpoints. One is at front foot strike is the very first time that our hand, our throwing hand, has flipped up or the hand has gotten above the elbow. And at this point in time, we're looking for the ball to be facing the same direction our chest is. So for lefties, that'd be ball facing first base. Righty, that'd be balls facing third base. We're also looking for our glove to be about like percentage wise, depending on how big of a path your glove took. We're like 70-80% of the way with that glove in its finish. And as we can see here, every one of these guys' gloves is within its body, within their body, right? Within their body. Maybe the elbow's outside, but the glove is within the body. The glove is within the body. Another thing we can see is with a lot of these guys is that we can still see the baseball at front foot strike on their backside, on their backside, on their backside, backside. Still slightly on the backside with Cueto. Same with Charlie Morton down there. Another thing that we can see is belt buckles. I see a whole lot of belt buckles facing us, the target, the catcher. And in order for that to occur, we need the back hip to have been driven forward. All right, we need the back hip, the back hips to start to come forward. And in order for the back hip to come forward, we need to have driven off of our back foot. We need to have driven off our back foot through our big toe, through the big toe, through the big toe, through the big toe. We're not lifting the heel up off the ground. We're like folding the foot over. Imagining that our base of our foot has Velcro on it and we're stuck to another sticky side of Velcro. And we're going to peel our foot off by taking like the outside of our foot and peeling it forward, which then helps bring our knee in, which helps rotate our knee and our foot, and our hip then gets to go forward. So you kind of take that thought process and see how he's kind of peeling it off the ground, peeling it off the ground while thinking, keep my big toe on the ground so everything can fold over my big toe, over my big toe. And when it gets over the big toe, that's when we can start to see the back hip. And if we do that with Reggie, can't see the back foot as well. Okay, here we go. I can see it better here. He's trying to peel it off the ground. Peel it off the ground through what? Through that big toe. And here comes that back hip. Here comes that back hip. Here comes that back hip into front foot strike. Who else's foot can we see? Okay, we can see Ramon's. Same thing. He's trying to peel that foot off the ground, not lift the heel up, but he's trying to keep the heel on the ground for as long as possible. So then he can roll over the big toe, which then brings that back hip forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Keuchel, same thing. Peeling that back foot off the ground folding over the front toe, which brings that back hip forward. Chapman's one of the best at it. Boom. 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 All right. So on and so forth. Every one of these guys has their own delivery, their own leg lift, their own stride, but we can see how very similar that back foot drive process is. That's the movement we have to do with the back foot in order to get the shin, knee, thigh, and all the bones in there to move in a specific way that then pushes that back hip forward. That then pushes that back hip forward. Pushes that back hip forward. Okay? From there, we can see that the stride direction is very different from one another, right? Like we have like Sanchez, Ramon, Familia, all very similar positions with their stride. And then you got guys like Crawford, Chapman, Keuchel, who are kind of more slightly like this front foot's going towards like and lined up with like their back foot's toes, where like Sanchez, Ramon, and Familia's front foot is lined up with like their back foot's heel. And then you got guys who are even more extreme than that, where like Arrieta, Nathan Evaldi, Joe Kelly, Johnny Cueto, and Charlie Morton, where their front foot is striding in front of their back foot's front toe. So for the righties, third base side of their front or the back toe. So what's going to happen now, because each of these guys have all gotten the back hip to come through, all of their upper bodies are relatively in very similar positions, but their front feet, yeah, their front feet are all in different spots. Like these three, same spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, same spot. And then, excuse me, these guys in their own spots. So like class 1, class 2, and then class 3, if we call it that. So what we have to think about now is all of the rotational energy of that back hip coming forward and this front hip opening up. That's rotation energy. All of the energy of that back foot driving us forward into that stride, into front foot strike, driving energy back from the backside to the front side, driving energy from the backside to the front side, driving energy from the backside to the front side. That's a linear energy. So we need to take that linear energy and that rotational energy that our lower half has gone through, and now we need to send it up to our upper half as quickly as we can, so that way as our upper half is going through its rotational energy, it can be fed that lower half's energy. So then the upper half can work even faster, even smoother, even more stress-free on the arm to produce maximum amount of power. So if we watch the guys that have the knee, or the stride rather, in the very same position, so Sanchez, Ramon, and Familia, if we watch, their knee is not going to move hardly at all to the glove side, to the glove side. It's just going to pretty much lock out, which allows that back shoulder to come forward, which allows that, which then allows the back shoulder to come forward. Which allows the back shoulder to come forward. Now you have the guys where the knee is slightly like across the body or in front of the body, like the Crawford. We will see as he rotates, the knee will slightly roll out, but then it'll quickly stop and lock out the same way these legs locked out. So Crawford is going to start to swivel out a little bit, and now it's not going to swivel no more. And it's going to just lock out so the back shoulder can rotate energy down and out in front the same way. So Keuchel, we said, was in the same similar situation. We'll see his front knee slightly roll out. There's that slight roll out from there to there, but now it's going to lock out the rest of the way. Boom, 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 boom. We might see a slight little roll out here on Lester. Nope, it just held the whole time until it locked out. Chapman is probably not going to roll out at all. It's going to just lock out from there. Boom. Oh, little roll out, but then locked out from there. Okay, now the guys that have the far stride across their body, who are what people would say they're striding across their body or throwing across their body. Watching what the knee does there, just stays in place. It's just locking out, and then his body comes through that leg or around that leg. Same thing, locking out, and then the body's coming around that leg or through the leg. Joe Kelly, just locking out, and then coming through that leg or around that leg. Cueto is just staying. Oh, that doesn't go much further. Sorry. Wish I would have known that. Charlie Morton doesn't go anywhere, just locks out. So you can rotate around it or through it. Okay, so with those thoughts in mind about the things we're looking for at front foot strike and what that then allows our body to do after while we throw the baseball, we will then get you guys into your front foot or show you what you guys look like at your front foot strike position after one more time of getting to see again what these positions look like at front foot strike, which again is the moment that front leg or your stride leg, your leg lift leg makes contact with the ground. So there's front foot strike again. Glove by body. Looking to have arm back behind head, if not even to behind our back. We're looking to see belt buckle and most importantly, that back hip coming forward or through. The reason it's come forward or through is because the back foot has turned over and rotated and driven away or peeled away from the pitching rubber. And then we want to make sure that that front knee, when it lands, the position it's in, depending on where the front foot lands, if it's straight in front, like tier 1 over here, like we said, then it just locks out. Locks out. If it's in like the tier but next to that, then it can roll out a little bit, but then it's got to lock out from there. And we notice that it always locked out and stopped moving and stabilized. It rolled a little bit, It rolled a little bit, then it stabilized. And look, the ball still hasn't even came from behind his head yet. By the time it stabilized, and now it's just locking out, locking out, locking out. Or if we're way across our body, we have to just straight lock it out from there and really make sure that we can get that back hip to keep continuing to come through. Keep continuing to come through. It's a little fun tongue twister. Make sure it keeps coming through. Make sure the back hip keeps coming through if we're getting our stride across our body. Again, there's nothing wrong with throwing across our body. We just got to make sure that that hip can keep coming through. And again, we're going to start at that front foot strike position and just seeing how these back foots are all turned over and how that gets the knee then to really turn over, which then drives that hip forward. Okay. And if we then just kind of take this back and slide over here just a little bit, and we just watch what that foot's doing and how it's driving into our stride, rotating that back foot into our stride. Boom, front foot strike. Same thing over here with DeGrom, watching that back foot turn over, turn over, turn over, finishing the knees complete rotation, back knees complete rotation, and ultimately, and most importantly, getting that back hip to start to come forward at front foot strike. So then everything can get continually driven out in front as we rotate down and around. Down, out in front as we continue to go through with our energy. Turn your body into a whip. Watching the back foot, how we're turning over, driving through that big toe, into our foot strike. Strong, stable knee. What's it going to do? It's going to lock out. It's going to lock out. It's going to lock out. Same thing with the back foot. Driving through that big toe there. Through that big toe into our front foot strike. So that way that back hip ultimately starts to get driven forward. So then we can finish everything out in front and down that mound. So we can get out in front and down that mound. Driving through that back toe, through that back toe, through that back toe, through that back toe, getting that back hip to start to come forward at front foot strike so then we can rotate everything down and out in front. Back foot, back foot, back foot, back foot. What's the knee doing during that time? Look at the back knee turning completely over, rotating all the way over. Kneecaps facing back of this heel. Turn that knee all the way over, getting that foot to fold over the big toe. When we do that into our stride, the back hip starts to come forward. So then we can rotate everything down out in front. What's that lead leg doing? Locking out, locking out, locking out, locking out. Back foot, how's it getting there? Driving through the big toe, driving through the big toe, driving through the big toe, through the big toe. So at front foot strike, we can then finish everything out in front, down and through. Same thing, watching the back foot, driving into front foot strike, driving into front foot strike, driving, turning over the big toe, getting that back knee all the way rotated so the back hip starts to come forward at front foot strike, forward at front foot strike. So then we can be out in front, locking that leg out, locking that leg out, locking that leg out. So we can get down through our release. Switching to the side view of everything, and we're just going to first start again with looking at the front foot strike position. So this is again the moment in time when trying in front foot makes contact with the ground, and same thing with AJ over here. Excuse me. Once that front foot gets settled on the ground and the knee braces that weight, and we can see that back foot position and how it's driven away from the rubber. How that back foot is driving away from the rubber, which pushes that back hip forward, which pushes that back hip forward at foot strike, forward at foot strike. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. We can also notice at front foot strike that the glove is finished or finishing, and we're looking for that, like that 90-ish degree being this is the time that the ball is facing the same direction as your chest. So righty's ball at third, lefty's ball facing first. Belt buckle's turned over. And then we'll watch as we go through the throwing motion how this front knee is going to brace itself. It's going to lock out. It's going to stabilize. It's going to block, whatever term you like to think or categorize it as. But that leg goes from a bend to no bend, from a bend to no bend, in order to help get all that energy that the lower body created and send it up into the arm and not allow it to stay down here in the knee and go forward or roll out. This is what allows us to throw the baseball down and out in front as we rotate around. And this is what allows us to rotate down, out in front and around through release. But we got to be able to start feeling ourselves really getting down. Really getting ourselves down at release and out in front with this forward trunk tilt. Our trunk is from our shoulders to our hips. This mass of our body we call our trunk. We want to be taking our trunk at foot strike is usually pretty close to up and down, and then we got to use our trunk to accelerate this throw down and out in front. When that foot lands in ground at front foot strike, we're usually more up and down, and we need to use that trunk to send that ball down and out in front. Next two examples. Oop, I didn't get Chapman a front foot strike yet. My bad. Okay, so if we watch this back foot, how it's just going to drive away from that rubber. Heel's not trying to come up in the air, it's just trying to turn over. What are we turning over? We're turning over the big toe. Watch this little piece of toe here that's in the bright, in the light. Should turn over. It folds over. The crease in the shoe is folding over that big toe so we can drive through it. And that's the movement that gets this back hip to go forward. That's what finally gets the pelvis to start to rotate forward. Gloves finishing, 90-ish degree angle, belt buckle, back hips coming through. Over here, watch that back foot. Through the big toe, through the big toe, through the big toe. Also noticing how long this back knee is staying back. Noticing how long this back knee is staying back and not constantly going in, down, 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 down as his body's going out. Because if that's the case, his weight's going down and out. We need to try to keep that weight back. We need to try to stay in this back hip so we can drive that back hip. So trying to keep that knee above that back foot as long as we can, as best we can. Then when we can't, then it's time to start to rotate. Boom. So then now the knee is strong, and we can see how it's locking out, locking out, locking out. We land at foot strike, and we can see knee holding strong, trying to lock out. Okay. Some more here. Kershaw. Back foot. Boom. Back foot. Boom. Back hip. Go forward. Back hips facing first. Start going forward. Start going forward with the back hip. All because the back foot's doing that. Get the knee to do that, which pushes and drives the pelvis forward. Gloves getting to finish. Arms in that 90-ish. Shoulders have not rotated yet. Shoulders have not rotated yet. Gloves starting to finish. Arms in that 90-ish. Back foot. Boom. 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 So we can see all these guys, different heights, different arm slots, different body shapes, different arm slots. But a lot of the same movements with the back leg, because that's the sequence that we need to do in order to get that back hip to start to come forward. So then the throw, boom, out in front and down. Okay. And then we got one more. Jake Arrieta, same thing. Back foot, 90-ish degree. Glove finishing. Belt buckle, back hip getting forward. We take that back. We watch the back foot. Boom. Boom. So then he can release down and out in front. Leg locking out. Front leg locking out. Front leg locking out. Front leg locking out. And then we can go ahead and take a look at you at front foot strike position from both the side and the front view. And some things that we can notice is that the back foot and the back knee appear to have gone through good motions. They appear as if they've driven through the big toe and the back knee has rotated. But then we look at the back hip and we can see that the back hip has not really gone forward yet. Hasn't begun to rotate and come through yet. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to back this up to see what this back foot and back knee did to result in the back hip not wanting to go forward. Excuse me. We can also see a slight inward angle with our front leg, which we can see slightly a little bit easier in the front view, which, like we just heard, is not an issue as long as this locks out from here and doesn't have to swivel out to stabilize and then lock out from there. So we'll have to play it further from here to see that. We can see, excuse me, that the glove is kind of still far in distance-wise away from the body, but it is in a good position, a good alignment, meaning it's not falling out or bowing out. So what we can say is, why hasn't it really began to come and swivel more yet? Well, we then pair that with the back arm and we can see that it's not really in that 90-90-ish position quite yet. So, excuse me, if we continued this, boom, now we can see that that glove is a lot closer to that finished position. We can see that the arm is in a closer to a 90-ish degree angle. We can also see now that back hip has gone forward and rotated. So what we can say is this upper body position paired with this lower body position is a good front foot strike position. And since we are not in this position at front foot strike, and instead we are in this position at front foot strike, we can say we have a timing issue. Our body is late. Both our lower half and our upper half is late. Why is the upper half late getting here? Why is it late getting to here? Why is it late getting here? Getting here? Well, it's because the back hip doesn't start to drive forward until here, 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 here. And that's the timing that the body has of back hip drive, throwing arm, flip up. Back hip drive, throwing arm, flip up. Back hip drive, arm flips up. Back hip drive, arm flip up. Arm flip up. Back hip drive. But unfortunately, we can see that at front foot strike, that back hip hasn't driven yet. So the arm hasn't flipped up yet. So now when those do occur, boom. So we're late. Our upper body and lower body is late. How do we get the upper body to be more on time? Well, the upper body doesn't want to flip that arm up, doesn't want to flip the arm up until what occurs with the lower body? Back hip drives, back hip drives, back hip drives. So in order to get the upper body on time, we need to get the lower body on time. In order to get the lower body on time, we need to get the back hip driving before front foot strike, not after front foot strike. So how are we going to get on time? Well, it's going to be a whole lot easier to do the movements that your body does earlier to result in a final movement being done on time if we have momentum coming out of our leg lift. And we're going to see here from the top of our leg lift, one, and we talked about this before at the end of the day, is making sure we're in a good set position like we talked about last year and worked on making sure that we don't have to rock any part of our body to get that leg up. Because if we rock back, that's energy that we're going to have to stop and we're going to redirect it. And now that's taking up time. Also, like we said, base runner's going to start to see, just watch his front shoulder. Once his front shoulder tucks in, you know he's going to pitch. So watch the front shoulder. It tucks in. It tucks in. It tucks in. Or it could be watch the back elbow. Once the back elbow goes back, he's going to pitch. Back elbow comes back towards me. me being the runner at first. Boom. Boom. All these little things are things that the base runners are going to start to pick up, and you're doing all those movements before that leg even starts to want to move off the ground. So we need to get more into this type of position at set. So then the leg lift becomes just a leg lift and not the need to shift weight back to be able to free the leg up. Okay. Another thing to think about is we're on this mound, okay? And this mound and all mounds have a gap between ground level and the pitching rubber. That's not how a mound is constructed. It goes pitching rubber and then it's flush with the dirt, meaning there's no drop off. That drop off occurs over time because kids that are your age want to dig, okay? And because they dig, that means there's going to become a hole right here. And now if we have a big portion of our back foot on the pitching rubber, and then we're relying on this surface just to be a half inch lower, we know that half inch is only going to be there for a little bit. Then it's going to turn into an inch, then 2 inches, then 3 inches, and it's going to just go down, 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 down. So now your foot's going to be angled more and more and more. That's why it's at your age, until you start to get on better mounds and better surfaces, we just want to be looking to get that foot flush up against that pitching rubber, not on top of it. So back foot, better probably thinking about that realignment and then better weight distribution at set. But then we can see from the top of your leg lift, watch where your head is going to go. It's going to go down, 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 down. We haven't gained any ground yet. We don't have any momentum going to our target. Now that you've gone down, 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 now you got to go out, 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 out. And not only are you going to go out, 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 but you're going to start to go up now. Up. Look at your head. If we watch this path, your head's going to go up. You're going up as the mound is going down. Okay, and now we can see a lot of the things that your body has tried to do to create power while pitching on flat ground is not going to be what we need to be doing in order to produce power downhill. And that's why we've been trying to work on all these, all last year, of that good set position so we can lift that leg up. And before that leg's at the top of the leg lift, we can start to get momentum going to our target. Our whole body start to go to the target. Not just kick the foot out and go down. Because now you have no momentum taking you to the target, which means all you're going to be able to do to get to the target is use your back foot, back leg, back knees, back hips ability to go forward. Boom. And now that occurs by you just straightening out this back leg. Straighten it out. I bend it to load, and now I'm going to unload. Well, how am I going to unload this? Well, I'm just going to kind of straighten it out. I'm just going to kind of straighten out my back leg. Straighten out my back leg. And we'll be able to see that better with this front view. We watch the back heel. It's just going to come up, 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 up. And we can see there's no drive. It's just your heel coming off the ground, 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 off the ground. Heel coming off the ground, 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 right before here. So your body starts up here, leg lift, it goes down, and then it goes out. And as it's going out, because this back leg is just straightening out, you're also going up slightly. Plus your glove path going up, that's going to help it want to go up even more. And now it gets time we got to throw. But everything's too high up here. It's got to now drop down to here before we can start to even throw the baseball. So we have a lot of here to here energy, here to here energy, a lot of here down to there energy. And that's why so many of your pitches you are yanking low glove side, low glove side. It's because there's just so much of that energy going in that direction through release. Okay, so let's take a look before we go through the loops and take a look at that front foot strike position. We said as long as that knee doesn't swivel out, we're good. And we see how it does not swivel out, it just locks out. So we're good with that front leg position on how it hits. Boom. And it's stable and it's locking out. So our entire lower half timing is back leg. We have to learn how to sit in our glute and drive as we have momentum, not from this position and just trying to go straight out. And in fact, it's out and up for you because of how your back leg just extends as opposed to rotating. And if we just use one quick example for that, yeah, he's gaining, his whole body is gaining ground. And then now watch this back knee, how it's not going to straighten out, it's going to rotate. Rotate into foot strike. It wants to rotate, but there's a lot of straightening out. And then, oops, your front foot strike. There's that front foot strike. Back hip through, belt buckle through. You can see the center of your belt buckle will be right here. And your back hip still right here. When we get you like this, boom. Now you guys look very similar. But we can see Chapman got here at foot strike versus you being in foot strike and then getting there. So it's just timing. It's going to be lower body. Backside is going to help it improve. And we're going to really need to make sure that we get top leg lift. We start getting our whole body to go and not just go down, because we don't have the strength yet to be able to go down, and then drive out, and get everything turned over on time. So, timing of the lower body, backside leg timing, backside leg firing. But we're going to get it by getting some momentum through the leg lift and not going to straight down.